I feel as though being a fan of The Crow is a bit of a blessing and a curse at the very same time. I've only just started to become enthralled with this entire franchise, but every single layer, every single day that passes, I get to know just how much pain surrounds this one character, this one franchise, this one word in particular. And that's why, even though I try to establish my channel as a place for me to say my thoughts very freely, I do want to preface this video by saying anything that I do say that might come across as disrespectful or insensitive, I do not mean it in the slightest. There's a lot of pain that surrounds this IP in particular, and I just don't want anybody to get the wrong impression. So firstly, how did I even come to know The Crow? Well, interestingly enough, we should probably start off with Brandon Lee. So, for anybody who doesn't know, The Crow was originally a comic book by James O'Barr, which came out in 1989. But in 1994, it was adapted into a movie starring Brandon Lee. And unfortunately, while filming, he tragically lost his life due to an accident with a firearm on set. It was going to be his first role as an actor trying to break out of his father's shadow, his father being Bruce Lee. Well, not his first acting job, it was his first sort of attempt at a breakout role, and he didn't get to see how much people would love and cherish this film for, Christ, 30 years we're coming at since his passing and since that Crow movie came out. Now, and I've actually heard about that story about Brandon Lee for years now, and I didn't know it had anything to do with The Crow, however. I did hear a lot about the accident on, like, people talking about accidents on film sets. That's usually a very famous one that people talk about. But what I usually always saw surrounding The Crow was the comic book. Now, and I'll put a few panels on screen for you to look at, but when I tell you, just one thing that I always thought about when I saw panels from this book was just how ugly it looks, how grotesque it comes across. And the thing about it is that it's not ugly in the sense that it's bad art. It's ugly and disgusting, but intentional. Almost like people looking at a car crash. Think of a car crash. It's something that can be so sad or can be so dreadful, yet we can't tear our eyes away from it, except with The Crow is that it's not an accident. It's intentional gratuity. And that's what always drew me towards seeing photos of the book. Yet, I'll be honest, I'm not much of a comic reader, so I never took the time to go out of my way of reading the original story by James. It wasn't until I saw a movie poster of The Crow, not the 1994 version, but the 2024 remake starring Bill Skarsgard. Listen, okay, I'm sorry, all right? I'm sorry, listen. Like I said, I have a lot of opinions, and a lot of them might not be super popular, but I'm also not gonna change how I feel just because it's not seen as acceptable. What do I look like? A bitch? Don't answer that. The type of person that I am is that I like to look at the original source material of a piece of media before I dive into the current version. So when I saw the Bill Skarsgard movie poster, I was all like, I don't know what this is, but this looks interesting. So I went back and watched the original movie, 1994, with Brandon Lee, and I loved it. I mean, the gothic atmosphere, the music, the attitude, the sadness. But I knew something was missing. And again, not trying to be disrespectful, but same feeling that I had when I watched the Scott Pilgrim movie for the second time, is I felt that there was a lot of characterization. I felt that there was a lot of background themes. I felt like there was a lot more that was missing in the film. I felt that there was source material that I was missing, and that's when I realized, oh, it's not originally a movie. It started as a comic book by this man, James O'Barr. Now, I said peeling back the layers of The Crow is saddening to people who are fans of it. Now, let me just give you a brief little overview of the story of The Crow. And for people who are like super fans of the... Listen. I'm saying it and I'm going to summarize it in the way that I'm going to summarize it for a fucking reason. Before you go... Well, actually... Listen. This is my video. You want to do it your own way? Go ahead. But just sit back and let me cook. I actually wrote this down in my notes because I've been thinking about this for a lot. I've been thinking about this for a while. I've been planning this video out for a long time. So the story of The Crow follows the senseless killing of our protagonist, Eric Draven, and his fiancée. This murder leaves the couple tethered in the afterlife, ready to live peacefully together for all of eternity until Draven is forced away from the gates of heaven and taken back to the land of the living, his own personal hell on earth. It's essentially a story of a man who has just been killed and witnessed the death of his fiancée, but instead of getting that eternal rest in the afterlife, he's brought back to life. And what is on his mind? What would be on anybody's mind? Revenge. And that takes us to James O'Barr. Because not only does death follow the Crow movie with Brandon Lee, the reason why James even created this story had to do with the death of his own fiancée in real life during that time, and him having to deal with the grief of losing a loved one, losing your soon-to-be... I can't remember if it was his wife or if it was his fiancée. But even so, I can't even think about how that would make somebody feel. And that's what I just love about the comic book, is that you can feel James's pain through each word, on every panel, through each photo. The thing about the comic is that it is so poetic and so beautifully written. The thing about sad media is that it can kind of very easily become cringy, become very like Tumblr-esque emo kid. Hey, that's me. Or just reek of so much angst that it just becomes unbearable to read. But it was every word, every poem, every piece of dialogue in the comic was just so eloquently written that even though I felt so much pain reading it, I just could not look away. I was reading The Crow is essentially just looking at a man who's just so defeated and not trying to hide it, and something about that just speaks to me. And again, I don't mean this disrespectfully, but when it comes to The Crow, the film, and when it comes to the comic book, I truthfully feel as though I think the movie is great. But there is only one way to see the sorrow that is encapsulated through a man's heart, and that is by looking through his eyes. There is only one way to hear a man's sorrow, and that is just to listen to the words that flow through his mouth. And all of that is showcased through the comic book. Every decision, every word, every illustration is just so grueling. And it just, in my personal opinion, it can't be recreated. Nobody can understand. I can't even understand. I don't want to understand. That's the thing. I don't think anybody should. Nobody can ever understand the pain that James went through. But that comic book, 1989, is a glimpse into his mental state when it came to the tragedy of what happened to his wife. And it almost feels disrespectful to say, but it was beautiful to read. It was beautiful to see. So I don't really know if I said this in the video already, but the Crow, Eric Draven, he is essentially getting revenge. He is killing every single man. He's going on a hunt for every single person that was responsible for his death and his fiance's death in the book. And the thing that I love about the comic book over the movie in particular is how calm Draven is. I feel as though this sort of characterization, damn it, my camera's gonna die. I'll be back in a second. Hold on. Hey, so I'm back again. But just to add a bit more detail to something that I said earlier. So James's fiance didn't simply just die. She was actually in a car crash and was killed by somebody who was a drunk driver. And I think that adds a bit more context to the rage that James probably felt, and also put into the characterization of Eric Draven, which the thing that makes Eric in the comics so sinister and scary is that I feel as though anybody else put in those shoes would become an all-out just villainous murdering machine. I mean, think of any sort of characterization of any person in media, or even when people joke around, people are like, this is a canon moment, this guy's gonna go insane, or this is the final straw, this is my 13th reason, or whatever. Well, that's a different context, but we can all think of like villains or even heroes, anti-heroes, who has something that goes wrong in their lives and they just become extremely spiteful and they just become deranged. The thing about Eric is that while he has, I can't even say he's lost it, but he's angry yet calm. I can't remember a single panel where he's raising his voice or where he's just like showing too much emotion besides calmness. And there's something so chilling about that. There's a difference between somebody in your face going versus like, I'm going to hurt you. I want you to feel every fiber of pain that I'm going to put you through. And I'm going to enjoy it. Every scream that you give out is going to be like euphoria to me. I don't know where that just came from. That was just from the dome. I don't even, it's just, there's a difference between that, and seeing that was just so alluring. Think of people like the Joker, like from Batman, and how just unpredictable he is. That's how I felt about Eric in the Yo, I felt, even though the people had it coming to them, the people who Eric were chasing down had it coming to them for what they did to him and his wife and his fiance. But even still, there were certain panels where I was just seeing how calculated and methodical Eric was, and I got scared for the villains. I got scared for them. It was like watching the Grim Reaper play with its prey. Even though I say I was scared for the people Eric was hunting down at moments, it was still enjoyable to watch. It was so enjoyable to see him get his revenge. And the thing is that he's very calculated in the sense that there were times where there were people in his way that he did not need to harm, and he chose not to harm them. And he even gave them warnings. He was all like, yo, you are not my target. You need to leave. Unless you do that, you will die. I'm just like, yo, this nigga is on a mission! Also, what I loved about the comic was that it fleshed out Eric and Shelly's relationship. Shelly is Eric's deceased fiance, and that was just something so beautiful to see, because it gave more credence to seeing why Eric was so pained. I mean, of course, anybody would feel sad about losing their fiance, but, just like for the audience sake, just to know what the relationship was really like with him and Shelly. So, seeing that relationship more fleshed out in the panels, I just felt so much sympathy or empathy. I don't remember which word is correct here in this situation, but I felt so much sympathy or empathy for him and her, and it was a lot. It was a lot. I think ultimately I had a lot of, I do think the movie's good. I still think the movie's great. But one thing I'm very curious about is for people who were fans of The Crow, the comic, the original one, I'm very curious as to what their reception of the movie was. Because in my personal opinion, I feel as though the movie, again, I said the pain that James put into that comic cannot be replicated, and I stand on that. That level of emotion cannot be replicated by anybody except for, I don't even think James could replicate those emotions again. I don't think he would ever want to. Who the hell would want to go back into that mindset, But it's oozing throughout that original comic. And I feel as though the 1994 film is a bit of a, I almost want to say resolution to the comic book, to the feelings that James probably felt while writing it. I'm sure a lot of people will disagree with me on this when I say the movie honestly did not feel as dreadful as I would have hoped it definitely has darker elements, it definitely has dark themes, but overall, I can't really say I felt the emotion that the comic was portraying in the movie. And the reason why I feel that is because I feel like the movie is a lot more lighthearted. I'm so sorry, you can hear my cat in the background. Jiggles, I'm trying to be entertaining. Okay, fuck me, I guess. Damn! I feel as though the comic was James putting his heart out for the world to see. But the movie was James showcasing to the world that he's getting better. And I know that's very strange of me to say, because of course, how would I know? But the movie overall, especially the ending, felt way more happier than the comic. The comic kind of ends rather abruptly. And I remember finishing it feeling somber. I remember feeling just like, damn, that just happened. Versus the movie, it felt very much more, I felt so much more peace at the end of it. And that's why I suggest, if there's anybody coming into The Crow for the first time, maybe even off this video in particular, this might be controversial to say, but I strongly suggest... Which way did I say it? I said watch the movie, then read the comic? I don't know. I guess you could do it either way, but I would kind of suggest reading the comic first and then watching the movie. I mean, you can do it either way. I don't know why I put that in my notes, but now I'm kind of all like, you could do it either way. So I think that's kind of all I wanted to say. Let's talk about hey Georgie, let's talk about Bill Scott. Let's talk about Bill Scott. Listen. If there's one thing, the movie hasn't come out yet, so I can't shit talk it. But if there's one thing that I can say that I enjoy about the Bill Skarsgard version, is that it brought me to finding and finally looking at The Crow, the original movie, and falling in love with the comic book. That's what I can confidently say about about the Hey Georgie version. Other than that, I was talking to a friend about this, and we both agreed that the Bill Skarsgard version looks amazing as a film by itself. However, as a film adaptation of The Crow, oh my god, nigga, what the fuck was that? What the fuck was that? Gang, listen, yo. Listen, bro, I'm emo as fuck, right? I understand what it's like to be a part of a music-based subculture, such as goth. This gothic movie had a fucking rapper in the goddamn teaser trailer. What the fuck was that, man? Huh? Gang, it's like having a movie surrounding emo culture and you got K-pop playing in the background. I'm like, listen, I love me some Twice. What is love? But I'm like, my nigga, why is this playing on an emo movie? I'm like, niggas got Zala Beam, hey nigga, like playing on a fucking emo movie. That's the equivalent of what the fuck I saw on that trailer, my nigga. I'm sorry, but it's like, again, it looks like a good movie. It looks like a great movie. I'm gonna go see it. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm about to support it. I don't care. Like I said, it looks like a good movie. He said, hey, my friend, she's an even bigger fan of The Crow, and she's gonna go see that shit. So don't even look at. I'm not even goth. I'm not even a baby bat. He said, do I listen to goth music? Yeah. But if you ask me, like, yo, what year did the Cure start as a band? I'm like, yo, what's the second track on the B-side of the Sisters of Mercy's second studio album? I'm like, gang, I just listen to the music. I don't know all that extra shit, okay? I'm not goth. But I can still call some bullshit out when it's bullshit. And everybody can sniff that shit. Listen, gang. I don't know what they was doing with that. It's just so sad because even though I'm not goth myself, again, not a baby bat, not goth at all. Do I listen to the music sometimes? Yeah, I think the music's great. But it's not my subculture. But even I, watching the movie for the first time, The Crow, I felt so much love. I was all like, this is pulling something out of me that I did not know that I had, mate. And I just loved every single part of it. Just seeing older, I mean, like, what I know you call like older goths, in not older in terms of age, but older in terms of being in the subculture. You call those people elder goths. But just seeing like an old gothic film, it was just so beautiful, man. And it's like why can we not have a modern version of that? What we get is fucking Bill Skarsgard. What we get now in 2024 is fucking Bill Skarsgard being TikTok edit bait. And don't get it twisted, he looks great. And yes, I've seen a lot of the TikTok edits. They're also great. But it's like, that's not the Crow. That's not the Crow. And you know what sucks? Is that my camera's gonna die. That sucks. And I'm gonna have to, am I gonna have time to do another part? I'll try and make this as quick as possible. What sucks, right, is that subculture is dying today. Subculture is dying because it has no foundation with people who are in it today. It's like, and I talked about this in a video. He said, listen, I grew up with scene culture when I was a kid. And the scene culture today, let's not even get into that. I'll tell you, 2019-ish, when e-boys and e-girls started to become a thing, when it was quite literally people just biting off of the mid-2000s scene culture fashion, I was like, what the hell is this? You've literally just taken something from the past and copied it exactly, but called it something different. It's like, that doesn't make sense, but now you look at e-girls and you look at e-boys, they are nothing like the original terminology that e-boys and e-girls used to mean. It's a completely new thing because there's no sort of foundation. People just make words and they just go, hey, there's no basis for this. There's no foundation. Let's just make it anything. It's to the point where I don't even know what the fucking e-girl is anymore. It quite literally is just any fucking woman who's on the internet who's famous. When it used to be a look. It's like, how do you go from a foundation to just, hey, everybody's in this? That's not a subculture, my nigga. That's just a melting pot. And what's crazy is the fact that I swear to God, there's probably like executives who don't know who think they understand what the hell goth is. Again, I'll say this right now. I'm not on TikTok. I don't scroll on TikTok. I look at edits of like people, all right? Yes, I looked at edits of Bill Skarsgard. Again, I said I'm gonna go see the fucking movie. I never said I'm not going to. I think it's gonna be a good movie. I just don't think it's gonna be a good Crow movie. Get the fuck off my dick! God. But I don't like scroll on TikTok, so I don't know like what the For You page is or like the subculture. I'm only on TikTok for the edits. That's it. So I don't know what like goth culture is like today, but I'm more than sure, because I remember there was a time where people used to look at rappers as if they were goth, or people used to look at like Billie Eilish as if she's goth, and I'm like, you people have no understanding what the fuck goth is. And again, I'm not goth, I'm just trying to stick up, because listen, we don't even have to talk about how emo culture, because, and I'm a contributing factor to this, so I can't, I'm fully saying I'm a hypocrite, but like emo is a music-based subgenre when most people who are emo don't even listen to emo music and don't even know that they're not listening to emo music. I'll never forget seeing that video of Gerard Way, the lead singer of My Chemical Romance, condemning people who called MCL an emo band. I remember looking at that video like, why is Father talking like this? And how could he forsake us? And then I had to do extensive research into what emo music actually was. And that just like opened my eyes. I was like, oh my God, I thought pop punk was emo this whole time, when emo is a completely different thing. And even that's a whole thing. Like, let's not get into that. But at least goth culture, there's like a rich history to it. There's a specific sound to it, mate. And people just, it's literally just like emo. People hear sad music or like somebody just like saying sad lyrics and think that it's goth. And it's like, you absolute swine. If this camera didn't cost so much money, I'd smack the shit out of it and pretend it's you. Damn, my camera has a lot of battery. This shit should have died already. But it's just, again, I am more than sure that goth culture today has been bastardized so much that whoever executive was all like, yeah, we're gonna make an adaptation of that goth movie from 30 years ago. Let's put this rapper on the teaser trailer. Let's have Bill Skarsgard have his bulging biceps all over the and again, I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining, but it's like that's not the Crow. That's not the Crow. My camera's gonna die, and I'm not coming back for another pod. I think I've said everything that I have to say. I'm just gonna read out my last, like, a note that I had, and I'm gonna call it a day. The new Crow looks like a good movie, but a bad adaptation of The Crow. No gothic elements, reflects lack of uniformity in subculture today. Goth culture was a fledgling culture when the Crow comic was made in the 70s/80s. And now what we're getting today is just a gothic movie whose target audience is a bunch of normies. It's been Justice, Eve, Evelyn, and I'll see you lot later. Thanks for watching. Peace.